My name is Ken Johnston, Mayor of Red Deer. I have lived in Red Deer 26 years now. In my first career, I worked for a chartered bank, one of Canada's great banks. I would argue greatest banks, but that depends, I guess, on who you bank with. But I traveled a chunk of the country with that bank for 40 years. Red Deer, beyond a doubt, has been our favorite stop on the road. The bank approached us several times to leave Red Deer. We could have moved to Edmonton, we had to move to Toronto, all those good things. And we decided no. The lifestyle here, the people we had met, the way that the community had really accepted us, made it a very easy transition to tell the bank that we were going to stay. And so the consequence of that answer was, okay, if you're going to stay, that means you're going to stay. You're going to retire there. We lived in Drumheller before we came to Calgary. I managed a branch of the bank there in Drumheller, and then before that Brooks, and then before that Calgary, and before that Lethbridge, and then before that in my home province of Newfoundland. So yeah, we've been all over this country with the bank. So. The mayor is a cat person, and I'm just devoted to the three cats. Two are kind of neutral on me. One just adores every step I take. I'll name them by oldest to youngest. They're all sort of collectively in the same age group. So the oldest is Murphy. He's a rescue cat. The second one is Sophie. This is the one that thinks that I'm the second coming of the Lion King. And the last one is Pickles. And Pickles was a stray. He wandered into the yard about 7 or 8 years ago, and you know how cats are, right? You offer a little hospitality, and they move in. It's like a B&B. They except they never pay the bill, frankly. But anyway, those are the three names: Murphy, Sophie, and Pickles. In the time that I was in Red Deer, I got very involved in the community. From a volunteer perspective, sat on a lot of boards, sat on the Westerners, sat on the Chamber, sat on the United Way, sat on Stars Air Ambulance, did some work with various charities, got involved in foster care and youth issues and so on. And when I was considering retiring from the bank, I knew I wanted to leave banking, but I didn't want to leave serving the community. So it's kind of funny how it worked out. Morris Flueling was a friend of mine, still is a friend of mine, and I phoned him from my office in the bank one day, and I said, Morris, I think we need to have a chat, and Morris being Morris, when I went into his office, he says, I'll bet you want to run for council, don't you, Ken? And I said, how did you know that? And he said, Ken, I'm the mayor, I'm supposed to know that kind of stuff. So I'd love the city so much that I basically went to the people of the city in 2013 and said, look, if you'll have me, I'll work for you for the next 4 years on council. The good folks of the city decided, yeah, let's give them a chance. And then they gave me another chance in 2017. I just couldn't have imagined that one day I would be the mayor of the city that I love so much. I just couldn't imagine. And here it is. It's just very, very humbling. But that's what Red Deer has become to us. The heart and soul of why I would get out of bed in the morning is to push the interests of the city. And I don't mean that in a sort of a bang, 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 bang kind of way. I think a mayor has to have a heart for the city that she serves or he serves. And if that city is not first in your heart, you're in the wrong job. From a personal perspective, and I just thought at the time that our relationships needed a little more binding. They needed a little more lift. But I thought at the time we could be even better, more effective, far more effective, if we could join in. Is a much better, I think, expression with those folks. And when I say those folks, I mean people like the Polytechnique. I mean large private enterprise. The Chamber, for example, the Westerner, private developers, the real estate community, all of these and many more, frankly, make the city operate. And so if you can think of an engine as powerful as our city, as our administration and our council, teaming up and joining in with folks right across the city to drive Red Deer to the place that it can be. That's really why I decided to run. I approached the community with a message that said, hey, I've had experience in collaborative working and team building and so on. I had 40 years of that with a good banking organization, and now I know the political landscape and the administrative landscape of City Hall. You really should put me to work as mayor. You know, this is a great opportunity for you to put me to work. And I was extremely grateful that our citizens said, yes, that sounds like a good plan to us. It sounds like a good program that can work for us, because it's about them. It's not about me. It's never about the mayor. It's about them. It's about you, frankly. And so that's what happened. That's why I decided to run, and here we are. There's a quantum leap from running or being a councillor and deciding to throw your hat in the ring for mayor. You know, the first morning that some volunteers and I went down to the farmers market, some folks thought I was running for council, but when I put up, you know, sort of Johnston for mayor, if you will, well, I can tell you the level of questions went from here to here immediately, you know, in terms of, if you want to be the face of our city, who are you? And how will you translate Red Deer over the next 4 years? Not just to our neighbors, but to our provincial neighbors and to our country. So quantum leap. And, you know, it reminded me of my old high school days. You know, I was so-called one of the brightest kids in class until I went to university and got my backside kicked frequently by, you know, lots and lots of other sharp kids, bright kids. You know, you have to adjust your game quickly. And so I did. When you run for mayor, you have to adjust quickly. The faint of heart do not succeed in politics. And that's why I admire everyone, every single person that throws their hat in the ring for school board or council position, the mayor's desk. Or there were 5 other courageous people that ran for the mayor's job. There were 30 very courageous people that ran for council, because essentially you expose yourself in the sense of, you know, you let people in to see who you are. And those opinions that you have about yourself, you express out so that they can be judged or evaluated or whatever. So it's not for the faint of heart, I can assure you. Not for the faint of heart. When you think of, you know, three things about Red Deer, so I did give that some great thought, you know, to try to come up with a list of 3. And so the first one is the people of Red Deer, right? You have to be in love with the people of Red Deer. You have to love them warts and all, and they have to love you warts and all, to make it a great relationship, you know, to make it a great place to live. So the people of Red Deer have always surprised me with their spirit and their generosity. When it's time to be tested as a people of our city, Red Deer has always stood up, and Red Deer has always triumphed. And our latest one, and you don't have to go back very far for this, was the Canada Winter Games in 2019. This community turned out and said to the country, this is the place where you should have the games. This is the spirit that you want to capture, you know, in the Canada Winter Games. But if you look across our landscape at the charitable giving in this community, we give way more per capita than other communities in Alberta. Stars Air Ambulance found that out when we did that fundraising a few years ago. Our hospital foundation is finding that out. Our Westerner Foundation just found it out just a few weeks ago. So that's the first one, is the people. The second one is sort of a personal one. It's our natural environment. It's our spaces, all right? Where, you know, we have an identity as a city in the park, you know. So you look around us, we're wooded, we're beautiful. We have, gosh, I don't know, 170 plus or minus kilometers of trail, you know. Think about that. You know, you go from here to Okotoks on the trail system, you know. It's pretty cool. So we have these natural spaces. We have a river, of course, you know, to sort of throw Brad Pitt in the mix today. We've got a river running through it, if you will. So it's hard not to love Red Deer from the context of broad spaces and so on. And then the last one, is kind of a pragmatic one, and that's the location we are in Alberta itself. If you think about our location itself, you can be pretty much in the mountains in an hour and a half if you just travel out west here through Nordegg and Rocky Mountain House. You're an hour and a half to Calgary, you're an hour and a half to Edmonton, you're a couple hours to the Saskatchewan border. You have an extraordinary highway system. You have an extraordinary location for anything, and we're the natural recipients of that location. So those would be the three things. So the three things you would want to change, the first thing is the social challenges that we have in Red Deer, and finding what I call a sustained solution for social challenges. In other words, there's a good balance between how we treat social challenges, housing, homelessness, addictions, poverty, along with the ability to be safe in our community, along with the ability to do good business in our community, to thrive in our community, to move around in our community, and to have crime, for example, under control and so forth. So that would be one for sure. The other one would be repositioning ourselves, where at some point we'll come out of COVID. We're going to come out of COVID at some point. And how are we going to build our economy coming out of COVID? So we found out that our non-renewable energy, I think most of us in Alberta are tired of the roller coaster up and then the roller coaster down and the roller coaster up and down. So we need to diversify our economy, and we need to attract industry on the renewable side of things, on the hydrogen side of things, on carbon capture, take advantage of our natural energy infrastructure. For sure, we need to do that. And then I would also put in there that Red Deer has a fantastic opportunity from a tourism perspective, from an events perspective, and so on, to showcase itself. In a post-COVID economy, I think we've all learned, we've fallen in love, if you will, with natural spaces and the outdoors again in a post-COVID economy. This city is positioned like none other to capitalize on that particular opportunity. So when you think about social wins, housing wins, economic wins, and tourism wins, those are some of the areas I think that that I would be very, very happy in 2025 to win on. So I just want to say a huge thank you to the people of Red Deer for their resilience in 2021. This has been a very, very difficult year for people. COVID has stretched us this way and it's stretched us that way. And it's worn us down emotionally, it's worn us down physically. Some of us got very sick and unfortunately some of us died from COVID in 2021. So my heart goes out to those folks that have been on that side of COVID. But my heart also goes out in great thankfulness to every citizen that hung in there, and especially to the frontline workers, hospital workers, EMS workers, the people on the front lines, the truckers, the servers, the grocery clerks, the bank employees, everyone who worked through what was a extremely challenging 2021. So if you could include that, I would be grateful. And give to charity. Charities are hurting. This is the time of year, when we need that, and have faith and confidence in yourself and your families, that going into 2022, it can be better and it will be better for you. So